Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, and this amazingly handsome gentleman across from me, his name is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, we are going to dive into what can only be described as amazing entertainment, because the media, if you cannot see what they want to do to Biden, I got nothing for you, because we're about to dive into it right now. We got clips all over the place. Everything will be linked, and most important thing of all my show intros, Tim, how are you? We got to get that right. It's Monday.
Doing great. We got pickle jokes galore today. It's just going to be a fabulous Monday.
It's going to be good. I mean, like we're watching clips of the media. Biden's the topic. You got Trump in here. It's going to be huge. It's going to be amazing. Huge.
Bigly.
All right. Yes. Bigly huge. It's going to be the greatest polling that you've ever seen in the history of polls. Some thought we couldn't do it, but we did. Anyway, it's already starting. It's already starting. All right. So, Tim, we talked about this pre-show, and I think this is important to bring the people of Second Legacy, who, by the way, you guys need to make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. But, so, as we go into this, of course, you gotta set some baselines, Tim. The media has told us, and the media, Trump is unelectable. It's impossible. He is the devil incarnate.
Yes.
And until they put out their own polls, and then they start freaking out. Because that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, let's play this first one, Tim. Are you ready?
Yes.
You got your jokes ready? You're there on board? You're ready to rock?
We'll see how this plays out, yes.
All right, I'm excited. Well, let's do number one, Mr. Producer.
New ABC News Washington Post poll suggests former President Trump has a stronger than ever lead over President Biden, 51 to 42% in a hypothetical head-to-head 2024 matchup. So let's go ahead and bring in ABC News political director Rick Klein. Good morning to you, Rick. So good to see you there. So the big question right now, is President Biden in trouble?
Gio, these numbers are really rough across the board for President Biden across a range of issue areas. And on that big number, 51-42, I should note that is well outside of what we've seen in other recent polls. This poll is an outlier. Other recent polls, our partners at 538 have done an analysis that have it more like a 1 or 2 point race. But whether you think this is going to be a couple of points in either direction, you have to recognize that right now the country is frustrated. Looking inside this poll, the perceptions of the economy are just plain bad. Right now, we have about 30% of the country only saying that they approve of the way that the president is handling the economy. Vast disapproval, and almost a majority of the country saying they're actually worse off than they were at the beginning of the Biden presidency. That's extremely hard to come back from.
So, Tim, it's an outlier. It's an outlier.
Yes.
So commence the freaking out.
I know, right? We just want to say that this is an outlier, but we're going to show you another poll here in a little bit that confirms that 30% number of his popularity. Okay, so the matchup between him and Trump, 10-point lead, yes, we've not seen that before. Generally, it's 1 to 4 points in Trump's favor, and I've seen a couple where it's like 1 point Biden's favor, but the majority are starting to swing towards Trump. But let's focus on that 30% approval rating, because again, we're going to see that elsewhere. It's not just this outlier poll. This is a constant theme with this man, because and this is why you're seeing him do crazy things like bringing up offices of gun violence and all this other crazy stuff they're doing. They're grasping for straws to show that this guy is still effective. Well, he's never been effective, so he can't still be effective. They're trying to prove that he may be effective.
It's the facade.
Yes.
It's the facade, though.
Right. It's so funny watching these left-leaning news organizations bring this news out and watching the response of those on the left. Because, it's an outlier. This is not possible. This isn't going to happen. Oh, no, he's the most popular president in history. Look at all the amazing things he's accomplished. He's running our country into the ground. And going after all of our rights, and specifically the 2A rights. And it is not a popular position. It just isn't.
Nope, not at all. And to your point, watching the story here is not the poll. Now, understand, people of the Second Legacy, we're on it. You guys are sharp as tacks. The story here is not the polling numbers. The story here is watching the left react, watching the media react, because we all know they are not gun friendly. They are not advocates of the 2A. They can say I like the 2A, but, well, anytime you say but, usually that means they disregard the first part. But the entire point here is it's the reaction of the story. That's the whole thing here. And Tim, it's so crazy because you can see it. They are ousting him.
Yes.
100%. They are throwing him under the bus. And personally, My opinion on this, the media is telling the Democratic Party, the establishment, get rid of him hard, and the establishment's like, no, we can do it. There's a struggle. Something's happening.
Yeah.
That's just my take.
I would like to be a fly on the wall in the DNC with regards to his announcement of the gun violence center or whatever that thing is that he put Kamala Harris in charge of, which means it'll do absolutely nothing, which is a good thing. But anyway, I mean, if she's as successful as she has been at the border czar thing. But anyway, so, I mean, these folks are just absolutely losing their minds over this guy, and it's so weird to watch these left-leaning news outlets, because we've talked about this before. We've shown them going after him before. We've shown them going after the Democrat Party. So if we could just be a fly on the wall, like with the governor in New Mexico, we saw what the reaction was to her actions. So I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in the DNC when he announced this Center for Gun Violence or whatever thing he put together, because I imagine they're thinking, okay, look, can we stop with the divisive stuff right now, because we're already underwater in the polls? What are you doing with this? You know this is a divisive issue. This brings out the 2A community into elections. We want to pacify them. We want to make them be quiet and not come out, be uninterested in voting, and you're giving them a reason to vote. I can only imagine that conversation has taken place. Maybe.
I completely agree. I completely agree. So there's two things that I want to say, and we've got more clips. This is going to be a chock full episode, so make sure you guys watch this and share this. But there's two things that I think are really important to say as we go into this. One, if you are watching this, and if you just, well, let me restart that. If you're watching this, understand this is not saying it's in the bag. Act like these numbers don't exist. What we're trying to focus on is the reaction of the media. So don't take it for granted that, he's going to lose because his numbers are that bad. Keep pouring it on. That's an incredibly important part. Don't believe polls. Do what you do. You got to vote. We got to do our thing. We got to do our part.
Most importantly, vote.
Huge.
Absolutely.
Huge, important piece. Now, the second part, Tim, you hit on something so good. Why are they doing all of these actions? Why are they doing executive actions? Why are they doing pomp and circumstance? Why are they partnering with brand new freshman congressmen around the Office of Gun Violence Prevention? Why are they putting Kamala Harris in a pedestal position? Because they are trying to recapture the narrative that they think that they once had. They never had the narrative, but they're trying to manipulate it so they control it. They've lost it. That's an incredibly important and very astute observation. Tim, you are a genius. You are the beauty and the brains.
Yeah.
Well,
it's rough.
I had to say it. It's hard being this great. I know. Tim's like, man, so good. Well, we got to dive into this. This is going to be so great. Mr. Producer, could you hit number 2? Let's hear from Martha.
Trump with a 9-point lead over President Biden in that poll, and whatever caveats, whether that is an outlier, that's a tough one to spin. The message may be out there, but they're not feeling it.
Well, 13 million jobs created, lower prescription drug prices. You hear all of this great news, and then you go into the grocery store and you're still in the aisle where they sell the vegetables and the fruit. You haven't even turned around to the meat, and already you've spent $70. They're not feeling it. Yeah, you can say a lot, as James Brown would say, talking loud and saying nothing. But at the end of the day, there's more than enough time to turn all of this bad weather around and go out there and make your case to the American people.
Sarah, should they
nah. I'm going to go with nah.
Yeah. I mean, but what's funny is she has a point there about the prices of things, because it is painful right now. People aren't buying cars. People aren't buying guns. People aren't buying anything because the economy is so upside down. People are sitting on that money because they don't know where they're going to be in 30, 60, 90 days. And I post on my private Facebook page receipts. Like, I'm blown away just taking my family to the drive-thru. Just go to McDonald's with a family, and when you come out with a $50 bill, a tab, not a $50. They don't give you $50. You give them $50, and the bill is $50. Nice. It's like, that's outrageous. It's. Gosh, I remember the good old days of the 59-cent meal deal. Those are long gone. The cup will cost you 59 cents if they put the water in. It's just true. It's unbelievably bad. And this is what people are feeling. And so when they're going out there trying to distract from their horrible policies elsewhere by falling back on the gun rights argument, just seems crazy to me, because they're going to activate our base, and they need to. You need to get active. You need to listen to what these kooks are doing, because if they get power in the next election, they're going to go even further.
Holy crap. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to take this stuff to heart, because they're signaling what they want to do, and they're getting desperate. And when they get desperate, they're going to do wackier and wackier things.
Yes. Preach, man. They get more dangerous the more crazy
Yes.
they get. Now,
You back 'em into a
here's the
corner.
interesting part. Exactly. Cornered animal. Here's the interesting part about what she just said. So that's Donna Brazile. That is a very high-ranking person in the Democratic Party. That is not just anybody off the street. Okay? So what she just said was interesting because you picked up on the pricing, but I want to focus on what she said around why they're doing such a great job. 13 million new jobs created. Yeah, they're all part-time jobs because you have to get another job.
Oh, yeah, I think we
And then
lost
on
about
the
13
other
million jobs when they shut the economy down. When they all
Right.
come back to
And then on
work.
the
Look, we created all these jobs.
Look what we created. Right. And then on the other side of that, prescription drug costs are going down. You know those exact same people who are sensitive to prescription drug costs, they're also sensitive to food inflation. So it's completely offset everything that they're trying to brag about Bidenomics. And we're going to get to another clip here in a second that is going to destroy that. But Tim, I think it's only appropriate that we've stopped by ABC. Why don't we go see what's going on at NBC? Because that's maybe they're different. So this is number 3, Mr.
It's a
Producer.
simple question of job approval. Barely 40% approve of Joe Biden's performance.
And we have to note 56%. That's the highest disapproval rating for President Biden since he took office. That's significant.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what's driving that too here. In one big area, no surprise, it is the economy. Look at this contrast. This is April of 21, months after Biden took office. Nearly half the country was satisfied with where the economy was then. Now, barely 1 in 4 Americans satisfied with the economy. There's also this. We found an enthusiasm gap between the two parties. We ask folks on a scale of 1 to 10, how enthusiastic are you about the presidential election? And you can see Republican to Democrat, there is a gap right there. Where's the lag for Democrats? We found a couple places. Non-white voters, you can see significantly less enthusiastic than white voters. And then how about this age gap? The youngest group of voters who Democrats have been trying to get excited and motivated, nearly 50-point gap there.
Hey,
Sorry, Harry
Tim.
Sison. Sorry,
Hey,
Davy
Tim,
Hogg.
Just curious. Do you think there's any coincidence that all the pressure that we've been seeing from younger level influencers like Davy Hogg, like Harry Sison?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think there's any interest in any correlation to the fact that they're pushing so hard that young people
Yes.
are voting in mass?
Dude,
And you think there's any correlation
All
there?
over social media the last week, Kamala
weird.
Harris is going around the college campuses, and they're like, "Look at Gen Z, come out for Kamala Harris! Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Gen Z loves Kamala."
And it's all
Gen
old
Z,
people.
yeah, and like 90% of the people on the line are
Yeah.
30, 40, 50, 60 years old. They're so desperate, and it's so funny watching social media because we talk about this on our videos a lot. They will always tell you what's scaring them. They will always tell you what they're about to do next.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
when they go out there and say, "Look, Gen Z loves Biden," the inverse is true.
That means not true.
They're
That means no,
trying
they don't.
to
That means
stir
they
up
don't care.
interest in Gen Z.
Yep.
But as these numbers show, Gen Z doesn't like the dude. I mean, it's, oh my gosh. Everything that you see and consume online or even the news and stuff, you have to look at it through a lens and try to sort out the chaff. Because it doesn't matter if it's a right-leaning organization or a left-leaning organization, they're all spinning propaganda in one way or another. And you got to try to find a way to get information and become an informed voter. But just know this.
Right.
It is a fact that the Democrat Party in D.C., I'm not saying Democrats as a whole in nation, but those that are elected, that hold office, that vote these bills into law, they're all anti-gun. It's a plank in the platform at this point, and they all toe that line. So if you vote for a Democrat for Congress, you are voting to have your Second Amendment rights stripped from you. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, it is a fact now, and I mean it's kind of a side piece of what we're talking about, but it fits in very nicely. Like you said, it's a plank of the story. Nancy Pelosi pretty much pushed out any Democrat who supported gun rights. Pretty much. That's when it happened. So now the Democratic caucus is firmly anti-gun. Like just flat out. Now how you guys take that, how whoever's watching this takes that, that's up to you.
Right.
One of the things that we try to do is we try to source every single piece of information we bring in. We try to provide accurate analysis to the best of our ability to help you make a better decision. That's the whole reason that we do these things. Now, what's fascinating about this is all of this is tied directly to our 2A rights. Because, again, to Tim's point, if a main plank is the Democratic Party position of power is gun control, and they have power again, they're probably going to try to do more executive gun control depending how it shakes out. So that's why this is so massive. And the reporters here and the anchors, we're showing you this because they are not happy. The potential, and I said this in my video on this, the potential love for Biden is overshadowed by one big thing, their hatred of Trump. 100%.
Yeah.
And they are not happy about the fact that these polls are as close as they are or as insane as they are. For example, if we go into the next clip, listen to what this analyst says on ABC. Back it over there. Number 4, Mr. Producer.
But when you have a summer of Bidenomics messaging and the result at the end of that is the numbers that you see in this poll, that should be pretty alarming for Democrats. And just to Sarah's point about the Democratic bench, it's true that the party doesn't have a sort of deep bench of people tested at the national level. There are a lot of governors, a lot of senators who have won tough races. And if the value proposition is an incumbent president with the numbers in that poll, with the American people saying so consistently they don't want him to run for re-election, versus a promising but relatively untested character like a Gretchen Whitmer or a Raphael Warnock, I don't think it's so obvious that the safe bet is to stick with the guy.
Boy, they are throwing him under the bus.
Important that is? Yeah. Do you understand how important that is?
Yeah.
He on national TV, on ABC, this is not a conservative outlet. They are openly allowing to be online an entire panel about how bad Biden is and how bad the Biden administration is. This guy just wraps it up and openly says, it's a question. An incumbent, which, by the way, historically is the most powerful piece of a presidential campaign, is incumbency.
They almost always win. Yeah.
Almost every time. Do you want an incumbent with horrible numbers who the people are openly saying they don't want, or do you want someone untested and you roll the dice? And he's like, I don't know. Do you know how big that is?
I know. And throwing out names like Warnock and stuff, very divisive characters, it's so funny. But then you got Newsom out there waiting in the wings with his 28th Amendment. You got all these people jockeying like, no, we support Biden. But hey, look what I'm doing over here. They are so setting themselves up they're getting in line behind Biden. So when he steps aside, then they're going to race right to the camera and announce their candidacy.
Correct.
It is. But they are all trying to throw him under the bus at this point. And it's infuriating the talking heads on social media, because they can't, they're losing their nuts over there, because they're just going crazy watching, like, why are they doing this? Why are they turning on Biden? Because Biden's unpopular.
Yep.
And when the man,
that's exactly right.
And the fact that he's turned to gun control to try to save his candidacy is something that they want to see, because they're all rabidly anti-gun, all the talking heads, and they're like cheering on this new office of inanimate object violence, the new office of IOVs, IOVs. The office of IOVs. They're spinning this as some great thing, like, oh my gosh, they're going to save Gen Z. We're just tired of guns.
Yeah, nah, boo. It ain't gonna happen like that.
Nope.
But that's what's so fascinating. This entire thing of watching the media turn, and if you zoom out, and Tim, you know how I love to do this. If you zoom out and you see everything that's going on, and you think back over the last few months, look at it outside of this vacuum. If you look at the Biden administration now and you look at this data, how unpopular they are, how the polling is bad, how the media is turning on them, does it start to kind of make sense that you have governors from deep blue states starting to pipe up a little bit? To your point, Gavin Newsom comes out with his 28th Amendment, and that's what he's going to push from California. Gretchen Whitmer has been relatively quiet, to be quite honest with you. J.B. Pritzker is coming out. You've got the governor of New Mexico stepping out of line and being a little more risk-taking or risk-loving in order to get a name for herself. That only happens when there's a vacuum of power at the top. That's the only time it happens.
Yep. And that's when they fall back on hot-button issues like firearms. They think that they can motivate their base by doing that. So they're failing everywhere else. The economy's burning to the ground. The world's completely unstable right now from, just a security standpoint. I mean, and, yes, the economy globally is tanking, but we are the largest economy of all of our allies. And we're doing a little bit better, but that doesn't mean, if you go back just a few years, just not even 3 years ago, we had 1.9 inflation. And right now the average is 6%. There's so many things that have gone wrong, have gone off the rails. People they're starting to fall back on their old talking points. You're gonna hear a lot about abortion in the next cycle. You're gonna hear a lot about guns, because those are their two hot button issues they always roll out to try to save the day.
No, I completely agree. That is exactly. In fact, that's what my video today is going to be on when I'm done with this filming. It's all about that. This entire thing is they are trying to find an area of which they can grab and garner control and control the narrative. They've lost it on immigration. They've lost it on inflation. They've lost it on the economy. They've lost it on age and fitness for office. They've lost it in every single avenue, which brings us to the entire point in which we will cover during this week. they're pushing hard on the gun control side because they're going to try to leverage the gun control and the right to be safe in order to overcome those things. If you guys thought it was over, get ready, because my own personal expectation is this is going to be a full court press against gun rights, and that's at least my take. That's the only area they're going to at least think they have control. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean it's their favorite whipping boy. They just love to keep coming back to that well, and they absolutely are. Anytime they get into trouble politically, they fall back on the same old arguments. And and what's funny is when you watch them do this, they try to out crazy each other. You know, somebody will say, I think we should ban semi-automatics. And the other person will say, well, I think we should ban semi-automatics in revolvers and muzzleloaders. And then somebody else will say, we should put gun owners in jail. And they just keep like getting crazier, trying to one-up each other. And then they finally realize they put themselves in this untenable position like, oh, wow, we made ourselves look really crazy here. You know, and everybody's sitting back going,
we may have gone a little too far. Just a little bit.
Kind of like the kook in New Mexico. Like,
I think that was the moment.
Yeah.
I think that was absolutely the moment.
Yeah, it's her trying to out-stupid everybody else to get attention. And she did it. Congratulations, you won the stupid award. You got the attention.
She won.
Yeah, you got your attention.
In my opinion, and time will tell on this. Luckily, I'm not putting any money on it, but my own personal opinion on this is that she was the final linchpin. The governor of New Mexico, she was the final one that went too far, and you're going to see moderation somewhat, a little bit more away from that point, because that hurt their narrative. That's my own personal
We got
opinion.
a year before the election, and Americans have short memories, and they're going to go right back into it. They just got to let this blow over, and then when we go into the election cycle, they're going to start right back up again.
But I have a long memory, though. I have a long memory. In fact, I think we should wrap this, because we got one more clip, and this is kind of in support of what we were just talking about. Again, still ABC panel. Mr. Producer, can you hit number 5?
The Democratic Party, though, has a really serious problem, which is there's no one on the bench. You know, you look more in that poll. Do you want Harris to be the nominee? No. Do you want Buttigieg? No. Someone else got 20%. The Democrats have had a historically weak bench for the last 10 plus years. It's because everyone's Joe Biden's age. So there's no one to replace Biden on the ticket. And so they're stuck with him a little bit. And his numbers keep going down and his appearances keep getting worse.
And speaking,
they're stuck with him a little bit, not a lot of it, a little bit. And as the time goes on, and it only gets worse, the crazy part is, and this is the interesting part about that clip. It was so fascinating to hear all the other pieces of the Democratic person there trying to make it spin about time and economy and turn the weather around. Then you hear the analysts talk about how bad, and there's not really a choice versus an incumbent versus a newcomer. But this one little piece, it speaks directly to, they got nothing.
I know.
I mean, they're actually stuck.
They want to hit the eject button on Biden and Harris so bad, and they're out there just saying we got nothing. You know, we got somebody here with 20 points. Yeah, that'd be RFK, and they hate him even more. I think maybe more than Trump.
Oh, and if he runs third party, it's over.
Yeah,
it is. Oh,
did you see?
God,
Trump made a post on Truth Social about him possibly entertaining the idea of bringing RFK onto his ticket. I mean, you want to talk about their heads exploding? I mean,
oh my God.
What's so funny is Trump was disruptive in 2016. He's really disruptive right now, because every time they indict him with something else, every time they do something, his numbers go up. And this has to be infuriating to them. And then they have people like RFK coming out there challenging this. And now the left has pretty much all of the top leftist news rags out there completely condemning Biden and his performance and admitting the fact that nobody likes the guy. And I mean, they're in just this. But here's the thing: I really don't think they're going to be able to jettison him. I don't think they can do it.
That's going to be the fun part to see.
So they're talking him down so much, but they're stuck with him.
See, I'm with you on that. Like 100%. I mean, as we wrap the video, I think it's a really good way to wrap it. I don't know if they're going to be able to jettison him, because he's so part of the establishment that the establishment wing of the Democratic Party wants them some Joe Biden, because he's a blank check. They can get whatever they want done, and they can trust the fact that he's solidly in the Democratic tank. Now, I honestly don't know. I mean, if I'm a Democratic advocate, I'm going, get him out. He's going to lose. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, this is how we corrupted our own political system so badly over the years. You know, with the whole primary system, you know, they're kind of married to the incumbent, because it is not typical for them to try to primary their incumbent. right? And they're talking
not at
about
all,
that,
right.
and people are out, on the left are out there saying, you can't do that. There's no historical precedence for, this. You can't do this. You can't primary Biden. He doesn't have to do a debate. He's our candidate. And this is how we've corrupted our system, because it'll fall to the other side at some point. The Republicans are going to face the exact same thing. You can't primary an unpopular candidate. And so, it's a mess, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But just know that our gun rights are going to be even more in the crosshairs going forward, because it is their favorite, punching bag. They always seem to go after guns when they don't feel like they're doing well. So we're going to have to keep our finger on the pulse of this whole thing and see how it plays out. It's going to be a really wild ride going into this next election year, but that's what Second Legacy is here for, to kind of talk about those events and give you some commentary around them. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.